This is a demo of the OneSignal Pro plugin. So basically what this plugin does is it takes all of the code that you need to get a device's player ID and send push tokens on desktop, on iOS if they're using SuperView, and also on Android in a SuperView. You don't need separate plugins. This plugin has built in the capability to automatically detect which device the user is on and then use the right code to get the player ID. So basically how it works is, I can give you a quick little run in the workflow. So this button right here, show me player ID, let me go to that. It triggers off. So the first thing is you have to drag this plugin onto the page. So this OneSignal Pro element. So drag the element onto the screen. Then when you click Show Me Player ID, it triggers this element action, which I'll show you. Element, it's this action right here under OneSignal Pro. It'll trigger this action, and then because there's a timing issue, we have to have it trigger another workflow when it actually gets the player ID. So once it actually gets the player ID, it'll trigger this workflow and you can see it shows up here. It's like when OneSignal Pro new player ID. So in this workflow, then what we're doing is we're going to make a change to the user, and we're going to save the OneSignal Pro's player ID. It's exposed as a state. And so basically the system we use to keep track of player IDs is we just put a field on the user that is a list of texts. And the reason for that is if someone it's for one account, can get push notifications across all their devices. So they can just, we can save all of their player IDs. And the other nice thing, the other workflow that we always add into our apps with this plugin is if I go to the header and when the button logged out is clicked, what we do is we actually trigger get OneSignal Pro, we actually get the player ID again, and then on this workflow we make change to the user and we remove the OneSignal Pro player ID from the current user's list of player IDs. Then we log the user out and we go to the page index. The reason for that is if a user logs out and say another user logs in on their computer, we want to be sending player IDs to the user who's most recently logged in, not users who have logged out of a computer. Same thing for phones. So that is a overview of the workflows. Basically, just to go over it again real quick, you need something to trigger the first workflow, which is get player ID OneSignal Pro. You can do that on when page is loaded. You can create a screen in your app that says, would you like to receive push notifications? And they hit yes. Just any way to trigger this workflow. And then as soon as the player ID is actually there, it will trigger this workflow. And you can run all the actions you want with the player ID that gets returned. In this case, we're just adding OneSignal Pro's player ID, and we have this condition here that just says only when current user player ID doesn't contain, so we're not saving it multiple times to the database.